Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is CoachFury here today, and we are back today with the latest episode of our Chicago Bulls Let's Play series in Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 21. And well, we're up to a bit of an interesting time of the season, to be honest with you. We've had a fantastic start to the season, bearing injuries in mind really, and we are top of our division, and we are basically in great form. We are 35-16, looking like we are going to basically be a good playoff team at this moment in time. And well, we are at the point where it's the 1st of February, just about a week away or so from the actual trade deadline. So we've got some interesting decisions, interesting things we can do on the episode today, really, basically around trade and transactions. So for those of you who've been following along will know in the first season, we were very active at the trade deadline. We were, not necessarily looking to make any moves, but it turned out that in the end, we managed to pick up Brandon Clark, who's just been sensational for us, as well as the likes of Eric Bledsoe and Jaren Jackson Jr. are kind of the big headline ones that we managed to trade for last season. So we've got a few things to consider. We'll talk a little bit about who's on the trade block across the league, and if we can try and make a move, we might try and do that. We'll talk about what I think our needs are and who we'll put on the block, and then we'll talk about our contract structures. So I think the first thing is we'll start with the last thing that I said, which is the contract structures of the team at the minute. So I believe the cap is just around about 113 million or so. We are obviously well up against the cap at the minute. If we were able to do any sort of further moves, we would start to push ourselves over the cap and be looking at luxury tax and things like that. But we said to the ownership that we wouldn't go down that route. So I'm happy where we are in terms of our current cap structure for this year. We obviously have some big decisions going forward that we can kind of kick down the path a little bit at this moment in time. First one being that, well, Jackson Jr. and I believe it is, where is he, Carter Jr. both obviously are expiring this season. However, they are both restricted free agents, so we don't necessarily need to make any drastic decision with both of those, because we can match offers they get in free agency in the summer. So it means that basically these guys, we can just run their contracts out. I mean, when I look to extend them, they're looking at 21 million, and I mean, whilst it's probably fair to say they do deserve that amount of money, I'd much rather pay that to them in the off season when we can hopefully get that extra year. Given the fact that Carter is 22 and the likes of Jackson Jr. is also 22, if we can lock them up for that additional 5th year, then that's a fantastic option for us in terms of the Chicago franchise. We lock them into a good proportion of their career then at this point. We do have some other decisions to kind of make in the summer, and that is obviously around Elfrid Payton and his team option of $18 million. So we've got a few things that we can kind of leave for now. Same with Brandon Clark. We don't need to worry about him at this moment in time. He wants a crazy amount to extend anyway. We'll worry about that one next season. But we do have some interesting players I think it's worth putting on the trade block, and I'll just talk through why I think that is. So when I look at the team and we go to the insights page, it's clear that we are an incredibly good offensive team. We've been an absolutely terrible defensive team this season, but the actual offensive ability of our team has kind of carried us at this point, which is surprising considering we have fairly similar personnel to last year. I would actually say we have better defensive players than last year, but our defensive rating is so much poorer. And well, it leads me to think that if our defensive rating is so bad, then we might want to make moves maybe to bring in a couple of good specialist defenders, or maybe we want to bring in some additional types of players, in particular around the wing positions. Because we do have Patrick Williams, who I thought was a good defender. He's got good potential, but that shooting number is just not good enough for us. We need someone probably who's a better shooter. I would much rather have two versions of Gary Trent Jr. than have a Gary Trent Jr. and a Patrick Williams. That's kind of where I'm at. So for me, I think Patrick Williams is going to go on our block. And likewise, I know this is going to sound absolutely crazy because this is the last sort of young player we had from this Bulls team, and it is Kobe White. So I look at Kobe White and I think he's going to be a good shooting guard in this league. His numbers are getting better. His shooting numbers are looking okay, but I just don't see him being the right type of player that we need for this franchise. Again, I'd much rather have someone who's a shooter who plays a bit of defense than have to worry about trying to fit him into what I don't think is really a shooting guard role or a point guard role. I just don't feel he fits with us. So I'm going to put him on the block as well and just see what types of offers we get for them. I mean, other guys that I'm going to throw around is probably Satoransky just because he's expiring. Thaddeus Young because he's expiring. Same with Hutchinson. And I'm also, surprisingly enough, I'm also going to throw down the likes of Jenkins Jr. And the reason being is that his numbers have looked pretty good. He's an okay player. I'm going to actually pick up that rookie option, I think, for next year. When can I do that? October, I can do that until. So I'm probably going to pick that one up now. That third-year option, just because it's a cheap contract, really. And it means we get him for another year, and we can think about whether we want him for the further year after that. But I just think that whilst he's not playing for us at the moment, I think maybe next year he might get some minutes and we might utilise him that way. But that's where I kind of see him. We've got a couple of years out of him. I think if we put him on the block with that sort of contract, someone might snag him up. And we'll also put Gafford on the block as well. So let's go ahead and do that whilst we're thinking about it. So Gafford, Hutchinson, Satoransky, all of these guys are going on the block. I should also mention I'm going to put Eric Bledsoe on the block just because I would love to move his $18 million contract. He's not starting for us. I mean, we can always put someone like a White or someone in there if we need to, if we do move him. But we might as well just see what offers we can get for him at this moment in time. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of our trade block. Let's take a little look at who is actually available on the trade block for other teams and just talk through that. So if we look through the list here, I mean, there's some interesting names. I mean, obviously Damian Lillard is still available. He was last year. He's just got a crazy big contract. That's kind of the main reason he's there. I'm tempted to try and see if I can package someone like Peyton to try and get him. I mean, I think he would be a phenomenal player for us. I think I'd happily pay that contract, to be honest with you, as well. So we could maybe look at that. Also, James Harden's on the block. I think he's got that's a player option, I think, or a team option there. So he is possibly expiring next season. I don't think he's probably the right type of player that I want at this stage. I think he's a little bit too inefficient. You can see here he's shooting 43%. So he's not really the right type of player that we want. Other guys I've been looking at, McCollum, I think, would be a phenomenal player for us. He's just such a pretty good scorer all around the park, to be honest with you. And I'd happily pay him $30 million. I mean, I'd actually argue probably Trent Jr. is probably a better player than him. But I just like the fact that he's a decent shooter, and I'm always keen to get good shooters in because we do have that front court presence, really. You'll notice that there's also guys like Gordon Hayward, who's not particularly the world's greatest defender at this point, but he's a good shooter. I would say that that's probably a bit overpriced for his actual value now at this point, though. So I see in terms of sort of the backcourt players, I mean, you'll notice that there's guys like Nikola Jokic around. I mean, he's just a really phenomenal player, but I don't think we need him. We've got younger players in the front court who probably fit our timeline better. And we've got like Siakam. I mean, you've got a lot of a lot of big contract guys who are available at this moment in time, who probably are not the right type of players for us. But you've got some interesting 2-star options as well. It's worth saying. So we've got. I go down here, you've got TJ McCollum, who's actually a pretty good shooter. We maybe could look into at $9 million. A contract is possibly worth exploring. And there's a whole host of players who are available. And at this point, I think I'm pretty comfortable just to see what comes to us in terms of what gets offered to us for our players. I might try and see if I can prod around Damian Lillard. I just think that he might be that type of player who will just put us over the top. That sort of point-scoring point guard for us. I'll probably try now, see whether we can make something happen here. Let's just have a look, shall we? So, in terms of the Trailblazers, we're obviously interested in Lillard. That $39 million contract is a bit of a difficult thing for us, but if I packaged him with Bledsoe, with the likes of Peyton, it makes it cap legal, gives the advantage to us. If I throw a first-round pick in this year, would they like that? No, okay. So we're probably well far apart in terms of getting Lillard. I mean, I don't really want to move any of our real main assets. Obviously, I don't want to move the likes of Clark or Jackson Jr. or or any of those guys. So probably not going to get that type of offer that we want. So I think what we'll do is we'll carry on a couple of days, see if we get any offers, and then maybe I'll shop a couple of guys like I did last year, and just see what we get. So let's move forward. Let's double check our depth chart actually before we move forward. I think it's pretty much all set. It is. It's all, everyone's back. Trent Jr.'s out for 2 days, but I think he will be okay to play. He's probable, so we'll let him play with that injury. Just check our inbox. We've got a trade rumour. Yeah, we'll just admit that he's on the block. And we'll carry on moving forward. We get a nice win there against New York, but we suffer an injury to Williams, which is certainly not going to help his trade prospects. He's out for 13 days. Okay, so we need to find someone to take his minutes. I think we'll just go and flat out just give the small forward minutes to Stevenson, and the power forward minutes can go to Young, I think, and we'll go with that for now. So we'll keep going forward. I think the trade deadline is the 8th of February. We get another win there against Houston. So we are looking like a pretty good team this year, I have to say. We are in some great form. Just some details on the draft, which we're not worried about at this point. We'll keep going. So we get to the 5th, I believe now. Still no trade offers. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly shop a couple of guys around. So one of them that I'm interested in kind of shopping around is White. I just want to see if there's anything of interest around the league for him. So unfortunately, bear with me. I've just got to flick down and hit every single get offer. As those of you who followed the first season know, this is a little bit of a painful process for this game. I mean, it'd be nice just to press a get offer and get like inbox messages of offers, or no offers, etc. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's a little bit clunky. We just have to smash down the get offer button and just see what's out there. So at the moment, it's not looking too promising. It looks like nobody wants to pick up White, which I'm surprised about. I mean, yes, he hasn't played many minutes this year, but he's still got some interesting potential. So I thought, in terms of a team that's rebuilding, he might be worth a stab having a go at. I mean, he's a former first-round pick, and he's still on his rookie contract for a little bit of time, but not a single offer for him. Okay, so that kind of gets rid of that one. I will shop Jenkins as well. It's worth. His contract's a little bit less. Maybe the risk is a little bit lower in that sense. I think I will maybe just quickly shop Williams. It doesn't look like we're going to get any offers for any of our guys at this point. It looks like we may be having quite a quiet trade deadline in this second season. Nobody's interested in making any moves for him. Again, I mean, I do find it surprising because I know Jenkins is maybe one that I would have expected some sort of low ball offers for. Given the fact the draft was pretty weak, he probably was one of the better players in the draft, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't think we're going to get any offers for him as well. Okay. So it kind of leaves us with, I mean, I don't really want to shop Peyton. I kind of think we need him in terms of our run this year. I will quickly, I think, just give Williams a quick go. Bear with me, guys. Just want to see. We just got no one's got no interest in our guys. I do find that quite surprising, actually. Given their age and contracts and things, I kind of would have expected someone to have thrown an offer our way, at least one of these guys. Okay, so nobody's really interested in our guys. We'll carry on going, I think. I'm not going to press in terms of trades, I don't think. I think I'm pretty comfortable with where we are as a team. So we'll keep going. We get another win there against Toronto. And we are at the 6th now, so we're less than a day away. A whole host of trades have just gone down there. So we will review that in a minute. We've got no trade offers for our guys. And we get another win there against Milwaukee, and a whole other bunch of trades go down there. And we have no other trade offers, so I don't think we're going to get any moves done at this point. Let's take a little look at the transactions. Is there anything that's noticeable? Okay, so Cousins and a first round pick from Minnesota went for Willie Cauley-Stein Smoglitch. Wow, that's a terrible deal for Minnesota, I have to say. The Warriors have made out there. They managed to bring Cousins back and a first round pick for what is just a bunch of bench players, in my opinion. Ricky Rubio has been traded, it looks like, as well. He has gone for a bunch of players there. Yeah, not much else. McCollum's been traded finally, so he went for D. Whittle and DeAndre Jordan for a second round pick. So they've obviously just decided to take the punt and nets. They just want that type of shooter in. And another first round pick's been moved there by the Nuggets for Halliburton and Jaden Smith for Lance Jr. and a first round pick. Okay. Nurkic has been traded with the first round pick and a second round pick for a bunch of garbage, it looks like. Interesting moves by the AI this time. Some things that I wouldn't have expected, really. Yeah, a bunch of things being kind of dealt around. So I think we're going to leave it there. I think I'm going to take all my guys off the block. If they're not going to get any offers, there's no point leaving them on there. Oh, get an error message. Let's take these guys off. Oh, okay, let's go back. Okay, I'm not sure why we get an error message. I will go to a different screen and then maybe go back and see if that helps. There we go, that's better. These guys are all going to come for the block now. There's no point annoying them if they're not going to get any trade interest at all. So we'll carry on moving. I think we'll try and see if we can get ourselves to maybe the All-Star game at this point, which is believe is around the 16th to 18th. So let's get the All-Star game done. Let's get to that point. If we're not going to make any trades, there's no point wasting our time. Let's get to that point and let's move forward. We'll stop on any injuries, but we won't stop on the action emails because we shouldn't have any at this point. Okay, so we've got an injury. Let's have a look. So Trent Jr. is out for 2 days, so we need to put someone in his place. So I think we'll just put Stevenson in for now and move Satoransky down. Up, sorry. And we'll just say for those 2 days, something like this. I mean, I'm not gonna die in a ditch over 1 game probably. If we're doing so well, we're not that worried. Against Boston as well, we're always going to struggle against Boston without our full strength lineup. So let's restore our lineup. Trent Jr.'s back in. Stevenson, obviously I need to give him back those minutes. And Thad Young can have those minutes back. Lovely. And our small forwards, if we're in garbage minutes, can be something like that for now. Williams is out for another 5 days. Okay. So just up until the All-Star break. Let's move forward. So we suffer another loss to New York there. Difficult one to take that one. I'd expect us to beat New York. We managed to beat Orlando though. We are now 14-18. Our record is in really, really nice shape at this point. And we are at the All-Star break. Let's have a look and see who has won the slam dunk contest and the 3-point contest. So the slam dunk contest went to Diallo and the 3-point contest went to Seth Curry. Did we have anyone in those games? I mean, maybe Trent Jr. was possibly in the 3-point one. He was, yeah. He didn't make it out of the first round though, but he was there. And in terms of slam dunk competition, did we have anyone in that? Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams got to the semi-final. Nice. That's nice to see. So the rookie sophomore game. Let's sim through that one today and see if did we have anyone there. I wouldn't expect us to, considering our rookie is currently sitting in the G League. No, I don't believe we did. So in terms of the actual game though, the rookies pushed the sophomores quite hard actually. Elder had a really good game. Okay, he's not looking that good a prospect. Where was he picked? 10th overall. Okay. then we've got likes of Bailey. Oh, there's some really terrible star rated players in this pack, in this rookie pack. And then obviously Toppin was the player of the game. Looks like a pretty good prospect actually. Shooting looks really good. He looks like he could become a nice little shooter in this league. So, big question now is Eastern versus Western All-Stars. Who is going to win, and will we have anyone in the game? So let's go and have a look. So it looks like the Eastern All-Stars won the game. We also had, look, we had Clark in. Clark played 2 minutes. I'm guessing, he fouled out. No, he didn't foul out. He had played 6 minutes. Please tell me he's not injured. I'd be absolutely terrified if he gets injured. But we did have a starter in the All-Star game, which is fantastic. He was our only starter though. Interesting that TJ Warren made the All-Star game as well. He's obviously having a fantastic season. Then we got likes of Oladipo was in there. Okay. Giannis only made the bench, which is really surprising. Sexton made the... Wow, okay. Sexton's actually having a really good season. Look at that. 29 points per game. Wow, his shooting numbers are just incredible. Blimey. Okay. Sexton looks like a legit, really good shooting guard. And then Middleton obviously had a perfect night. Some really good shooting numbers there. And then on the Western side, okay, LeBron James didn't make the All-Star game. That's very interesting. Zion Williams did. Doncic is in there. Ayton, Leonard, DeRozan. Davis made it but didn't play. What's LeBron's numbers looking like this year? Or is he retired? Did I miss that? No, he's there. He's putting up some good numbers still. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't make the All-Star game, if I'm honest. But thankfully, it looks like that the likes of Brandon Young, whilst he only played 6 minutes in the All-Star game, he's not been injured. Thank goodness for that. So that kind of brings us to the end of this episode. I think, bit of a slow episode this one. We didn't get any drastic changes done this time. We didn't do any major trades, but I'm really happy with how the team is performing. I mean, to be 40-18, looking at the standings, we are up there in terms of, we are top of the Eastern Conference at this moment in time. I believe we probably do have one of the better records in the league. Yeah, so we have the second best record in the league. We're in good form. I mean, the roster's clicking like anything. The balance is all there. Very, very happy with how it's going. Interested to hear your thoughts. In particular, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts this time about maybe off-season plans, early thinking about off-season plans. We obviously have some big decisions about, obviously, the likes of Wendell Carter and Jackson Jr. We'll have their restricted free agencies, and my thinking at the moment is that we will just make sure we keep them and get them locked down to a decent contract. But we have some other big decisions to probably consider, and that is the likes of, do we pick Elfrid Payton's team option up? Bearing in mind it's $18 million, or do we throw him back into free agency and see if we can get someone else better with that money? We've obviously got a couple of big guys coming off the books in the likes of Satoransky and Young. Two good bench players, I would say. I mean, they're not playing huge amounts of minutes for us, but maybe that money should be spent elsewhere. Bearing in mind that even if we were able to re-sign the likes of Jackson Jr. and Carter Jr., probably to about $14 million between them, that puts us over the salary cap, to be perfectly honest with you, at that point. So we then would be struggling around for other options. So there's a thing to consider there, is how we balance that up. But interested in your thoughts in terms of the off season. Is that the approach that you think we should take? Are there other things we should maybe consider? Looking at the league media very quickly, and if we go to the magazines, you can kind of see the free agency preview just looks insane at this point. Some really big names on here. Obviously, a lot of them got player options, which I would expect them to pick up probably. But we've got a couple of guys who are unrestricted. Trae Young, Kawhi Leonard, two big names there that we could maybe possibly think about. But yeah, interested in your thoughts in that for this time. We'll come back next time. We'll try and get through the bulk of the rest of the season, see where we land up. I think it's fairly safe to say we are going to be a playoff team at this point. It's just a case of whether we go in there as a top seed or as a lower seed. Hopefully we can avoid some of the major injuries and catastrophes that could possibly happen. And we'll come back next time, crack on through with the season. But so far, so good for this ball side. We are in great shape. We really are. And if you're enjoying the episodes, I really appreciate a like and a subscribe button. You can follow the episodes as they come out, and always keep bringing those comments forward. and let's see if we can get this Bulls team into a really good position ahead of the playoffs.